Hello, dear students. Today I will discuss with you the topic Symbolism in Desire Under the Elms by O'Neill. Now, let us first know that why a dramatist or any author for that matter uses symbols, in his work, say it be drama, say it be poetry. More so, symbolism is found in poetry and of course in plays also, and O'Neill has mastered this art, I would say. After having worked on this topic, I really enjoyed and was happy, to understand that what purpose actually symbols perform when the dramatist uses them in his play. First of all, use of symbol, it helps the dramatist is able to talk about vast concepts in a very little space. There are so many things he may talk about, the writer may talk about in a very limited place, in a limited space, not place, right? Then the theme of the play can be universalized. That is another purpose that symbols solve. And at the same time, what symbols do, they suggest a deeper meaning, which sometimes is difficult to understand at the surface level. So it gives the work deeper reality and profound significance to any work or to its theme, we can say. So let us start discussing. Now, symbolism in literature. What symbolism is, I just told you a bit of it, that why and how symbols are used, what purpose is solved by the use of symbols. So, symbolism is a technique of communication by which complex psychological truths, inner tensions, strains, and conflicts can be conveyed to the readers or audiences. It is a tool to make the abstract concrete. A writer or author uses symbolism to convey much more than the ordinary. That is why I told you vast concepts can be covered in a little space, and a deeper reality can come to the fore. Character, characters, should be incident, setting, ideas are used as symbols to suggest an idea that is not necessary for the surface story. So, this is what symbolism in literature is all about. Now, without wasting much time, let us talk about O'Neill's use of symbol and symbolism. And in Desire Under the Elms, O'Neill has extensively made use of symbols. Of course, the very first and the most important symbol are your elms, the elm trees. Then is your farm, right? The New England carrot farm. Stone and land are used as symbols. Wall is used as symbol. There are symbolic characters. Then money is a symbol. Women of the play are also symbol. We'll find out what they symbolize. And of course, biblical and mythological symbol has been used by O'Neill. So let us first begin with the first symbol, that is elms, that are the elms. Now, I have written symbolic setting and a symbolic elms. Now, as the play opens, there is the description, there is the setting which O'Neill gives us, and from there the symbolic significance of the elm is very outrightly written by O'Neill in the very setting of the play. So I have put it in quotes because I've taken it from the text, quote unquote. Two enormous elms are on each side of the house. They bend their trailing branches down over the roof. They appear to protect and at the same time subdue. This is a sinister maternity in their aspect. Sorry, there is a sinister maternity in their aspect, a crushing, jealous absorption. They brood oppressively over the house. They are like exhausted women resting their sagging breasts and hands and hair on its roof. If you make an attempt to visualize, their sagging breasts and hands and hair on its roof. So आप बड़े अच्छे से इसको imagine कर सकते हो, how the elms have been described by O'Neill. Sorry. And when it rains, their tears trickle down monotonously and rot on the shingles. Rot hota hai decay. Shingles, I hope you all know, shingles are those wooden tiles that are used in the houses that are made in the countryside, or in the farms. That is the shingle. So beautiful description of the elms are given, and now from here itself we can say that these elms, they symbolize the mother image, Eben's mother more, right? And whose presence can be felt throughout the play. At the same time, they symbolize mother fixation, right? And the role of mother mistress, which is done, obviously, which is performed by, or which we can say Abby has to play towards Eben. So two things, very, very important. See here also it mentions about this sinister maternity. Sinister maternity is the same mother image, which hovers around the whole house all the time, on the farm all the time. And this jealous absorption, this crushing and jealous absorption, which comes like a the mother fixation from Eben's side, who has to somehow take revenge on his father, because he believes that his father, not say my, his father killed his mother by making her overwork in the farm, right? And how his avenge or the revenge takes place ultimately by the coming of another woman, that is Abby, from whom or through whom Eben is gonna revenge on his revenge take a revenge on his father for his mother more. Okay, so try to learn this. It is very important that you code this in your exams. And by now, I think you all will be in a position to understand that what elms actually symbolize, what significance they have. They symbolize the mother fixation, they symbolize the mother image, which keeps hovering all through the play, and they symbolize mother mistress through the character of Abby. I just got happened to get this picture somewhere, so I liked it. So now आप इसको जरा correlate कीजिए. So sagging breasts and hands and tears trickling down. So here are the trees. These are the hands and the sagging breasts. So very interesting. Very nicely this image has been made. Now, elms, sinister maternity, or the maternal trees. Sinister maternity represents over here all the repressed attributes of Eben's mother. I hope you can correlate. The elms represent the secret dominance of the female in action, whether they are present or they are not present, but they mark their dominance in the action, right? They represent the dead second wife of Cabot, still powerful in Eben's life. And Abby is strong enough to destroy Cabot and Eben and the child that is born to Eben and herself. So these maternal trees signifying the sinister maternity, they talk of the repressed attributes of mother, Eben's mother, and at the same time the mother image, which is present all through the play, right? Now, I read somewhere that, elm trees are called the trees of sleep, and they usually stand for deep passion, intuition, and maternal instincts. Its rigid structure and strength of will represent the spirit of the people fighting to the finish. So, correlate fighting to the finish. Abby fights to the finish. Eben fights to the finish to revenge his mother, right, from his father. So, what elms trees represent and how symbolically O'Neill has used them in the play can very well be correlated. At the end of the play, elves still stoop in maternal embrace, but there is no woman there to give them a human and tolerable significance. So their presence is obviously with the presence of a woman in the house, right? And through that presence, we see that there is a mother image which is all, I would say, omnipresent in the all through the play. So I hope Elm's significance would be clear to you. Next, we move on to the symbolic significance of the farm. Now, farm is the reason behind the play, behind the action of the play, behind the plot of the play, what happens, why it happens. Everything happens for the farm, right? All want the farm for security, they want it for stability in their lives, and so all of them, all the characters, they somehow want to possess the farm. Cabot desires the farm for the sake of his security, for the sake of his prestige. Abby desires the farm because, of course, again, for security. Even desires for the farm is because he wants to take revenge for his mother, right? So the New England farm or Cabot's farmhouse is symbolic of emotional and material security desired by all the characters. Say it be Simon, Peter, Abby, Eben, Ephraim, all of them. Material, sorry, emotional and material security. Every character who is a slave to it and live a lonesome life on it, his life is what his life is like, life denying sterility, which means it is almost lifeless. Now every character who desires the farm, they are kind of a slave to it. That is what I mean when I'm saying over here the life denying sterility, because you do not understand anything outside the farm. You have to possess the farm. That is the only thing that goes on in the mind of the characters, right? You'll understand it better when I read the next line. Eben and Abby give up their desire and are thereby able to realize the love for each other. So it is only after they give up that desire, to own the farm. इसको Puritan concept के साथ भी जोड़ा जाता है. The Puritan concept of desire, till the time you are fixed to a desire, you become a slave of it, right? And then after a certain time, that desire, your life itself become sterile. There is lifelessness. Okay, you start feeling lonely, and this attribute can be very well connected to Ephraim Cabot when the play comes to an end. He's again left because he was left alone because he was a true Puritan in his love for the or desire for the farm, I will say, right? But these two characters, these two lovers, they when they give up their desire, they have nothing to do with the farm. Eventually, they realize their love. They are no more slave to the farm. And this is very interesting. Towards the end, in the closing lines of the play, anybody who sees the farm, they desire it. Even the sheriff at the end of the play looks around the farm and remarks, "It's a Jim Dandy farm, no denying. Wished I owned it." So he has a desire that I wish I owned the farm. Okay, very interesting. Now, next, they may not be very important symbols, but then, yes, of course, they are. The stones and land, they which symbolize hardships, stubbornness, rigidity, hard labor to death is what is represented by stone and land. So, stones represent the difficult and often unfruitful hardships of farm labor in the 19th century America. Ephraim Cabot describes his bitterly tough labor life as life of digging stones, quote unquote, I got weak, despairful. There was so many stones. This is where he quotes in the beginning. Okay. For him, the heavy stones embedded deep within the landscape evoke an eternal, unrelenting God, eternal God. That is what the stones symbolize for him. That is what the stones stand for him. Then he considers stones to be symbolic of God himself and proclaims to Abby in the middle of the play or towards the end of the play, he tells Abby that God's hard, God's not easy, and God's is in the stones. Then characters, they recognize all the characters. Simon की बात करें, Peter की बात करें, Eben की बात करें, even the dead characters, I would say, they recognize the elementary nature of stones as immovable, unbreakable, and immortal as representative of endless toil. Because of this endless toil only, Mo had died. Eben's mother died for this reason only. So all the characters, they understand this elementary nature of the stones. For Simon and Peter, the stones represent the relentless drudgery of farm work. They were tired, they were bored of it, which means the perpetual need to dig the stones out of the ground for them was like imprisonment. For all the characters, obviously, it was endless toil, and for at the same time, it was a kind of imprisonment also, as far as Simon and Peter are concerned. Now, as far as the stone wall was concerned, the stone wall is symbolic of Cabot, Ephraim Cabot, in his hardness, in his inflexibility, and in his commitment to hard work. That is what the stone wall symbolizes. Next, we have the symbol of wall. Now, very, very significant. Wall symbolize separateness and close association at the same time. In the last scene of the play, there is not last scene, I would say, it was part two somewhere. In one of the scenes, the setting where the narrator is trying to tell you that their hot glances seem to meet through the wall. So the walls, they get their significance in relation to the love, the sexual desire between Abby and Eben. That is why I'm saying that the wall, they symbolize separateness as well as close association. The wall between Abby and Eben is symbolic of the wall of selfhood, which separates and divides one character from the other. Especially Abby and Eben के context में बात कर रहे हैं हम over here. Then wall is also symbolic of separateness, and it is better that it should crumble as Abby and Eben begin to yearn passionately for each other and become close to each other. And very beautifully, this crumbling, and this has been shown over here. You can see this clip from the movie, from the adaptation, which I would also like you all to watch it once, because this is one of the very well dramatized adaptation of Desire Under the Elms. So here, Abby and Eben, there is this wall, and they wish it crumbles down, and then they can just let loose themselves into each other. So the melting of the wall is symbolic of the merging and fusion of their two cells, which is now taking place over here. Okay, I hope you are able to correlate. So the melting of the wall is very important. On one hand, it is obviously representing or symbolizing separateness, but then over here you can see the close association which takes place through the wall, and it has to crumble. The crumbling is very, very important. That is what I'm trying to tell you over here. Okay. Then comes your characters. Characters are also significant, and this you will have to understand in the context of the primitive horde discussion. A a screenshot I had shared with you, of the class notes that we had taken in our class, and I shared that with you, that there were these primitive hordes. They were governed by primal father who enjoyed intimate relationship with the women of the horde, right? And as the sons, they grew up, they started they started getting jealous of their father, obviously for the woman of the house, and also for his materialistic possessions, right? And this what does this signify? This signifies the father son hostility. And with age, these sons, they used to become so hostile that the fathers, they had to banish their sons. So from this, comes their uh, symbolic significance of the characters. Ephraim represents the rugged patriarch who ruled the primal hordes with an iron hand. Conflict between Ephraim and his son is symbolic of the father son conflict in primitive societies. Possessing women of the farm is represented by sons having relationship with Min the prostitute. Departure of Simon and Peter to California is symbolic of the exile of the sons from the primal primal hood. Okay, so as far as symbolic significance of the characters is concerned, you have to understand it in the context of the primal societies, the father son conflict, the father son rebellion, the father son hostility that has been discussed by Freud. How it has been shown in the play, that is what you will focus on. Next, we have some minor symbols, which I will not discuss much, but yes, we can have a look. Money is a symbol of greed, materialism, hard labor, and desire. So, this we have also seen. And money over here is, when you see the adaptation, you'll see that very clearly a scene has been shown where Ephraim Cabot is hiding Mo's money, and Eben is small, standing with his Mo, and they are looking where he is hiding the money. Okay, so this money is a symbol of greed and materialism, and obviously desire. Of course, it is, right? Then the California gold, for which Simon and Peter always pursue for, they want to attain it. It stands for the American dream. And American dream is what? It is the dream of materialistic pursuits. When I talk of pursuits, it always reminds me of Pursuit of Happiness. It's a wonderful movie. I would wish you all must watch it. These days you have lots and lots of time, so please do watch this movie, Pursuit of Happiness. I'm forgetting the name. There is this main lead actor and his son, and facing this American dream, how they eventually lead to happiness is what is being discussed in this movie. Very interesting. Do watch it. Okay, so coming back, women of the play, they symbolize nature, right? Elm tree is representative of more. Min the prostitute is described as warm, like a field and like the stars. And Abbey is described as fertile, hale, sensuous, and hot. So these are some minor symbols. Now, very, very significant, the biblical and the mythological symbols. First, we'll talk about the biblical symbols. Now, through the use of biblical symbols or biblical symbolism, O'Neill has deepened his meaning in the play, right? He has tried to give it a deeper meaning, and he has tried to universalize the theme. That is what purpose is being solved by biblical symbolism. Now, if we see the first character, before I just start, here you have to remember that the names of the characters have been taken from the Bible. Most of them are from the book of Samuel, right? So you can build a connection that ways. Now, Peter in the Hebrew in the Bible, he was the leader of Christ's apostles, and he derives his name from Greek Petros, which means a rock. So Peter had the nature of the rock. And you can remember an instance in the play where Peter was the first one to pick up a stone and throw at his father in the anger, in the frustration of working on the hard farm. Simeon, which again means Shimon, then from here the name has been derived, and it means God has heard. Shimon in Hebrew, it stands for God has heard. And it also represents cruelty. And it also stands for the proverb an eye for an eye. Now, why I have written, or why what I'm trying to mention through this is that when Cabot comes with his new wife and Simeon is angry, he bursts and he says that if you put us into hard labor, I will rape your new wife. Very outrightly, he says that. Okay? Then Ephraim, obviously, he is, as far as the play is concerned, he's harshness incarnate, right? And he is rocky. His nature is rocky, like Hebrew or Puritanic gods. And his name, Ephraim's name, stands for fruitful, a son of Joseph, and his name means fruitful. Now, being or standing for this rocky nature like the Hebrew gods, at the end of the play, we see that he remains as an isolated figure at the end of the play. What you have to remember over here is his name, what his name symbolizes biblically. That is fruitful, a son of Joseph. Abby is again King David's wife, Abigail, and Abigail means father's joy. Now, Abigail, which stands for the good indiscretion, and it also means beautiful in form. Okay, that is how Abigail was used for Abby, or it can be connected to Abby. And last, Eben. Eben was the Ebenezer. Ebenezer means the stone of hope. And this stone of hope, one can recall the statue that was erected by Samuel. This has been discussed in the book of Samuel. मैंने आपको पहले ही बता दिया that all the references are from there, right? And it was erected back after, to commemorate, to enjoy, to celebrate the defeat of the Philistines. At that time, this stone of hope was built, right? So these are the biblical connections. Next, mythical symbolism, which we have discussed. We have discussed myth. So, by Greek myth as a symbol, what O'Neill has done, he has imparted a broad and universal significance to the play. That is what he has done through this. Hippolytus is our Eben, Phaedra is Abby, Theseus is Cabot. Whatever takes place in the Greek mythology, the same events, the same sequence of events takes place here. Theseus comes with Phaedra, Ephraim comes with his new wife, Abby. Phaedra falls in love with stepson Hippolytus. Abby falls in love with um, a stepson Eben. They both, Hippolytus and Eben, they understand and take the advances of their mothers, stepmothers. But then both the mothers, Phaedra as well as Abby, what do? They try to hide their love for them, their sexual desire from them, in the garb of hatred, in the garb of scorn. So, very well, O'Neill has tried to um, used mythical symbolism in the play through the story of Hippolytus, Phaedra, and Theseus. And in this way, what O'Neill has done, the incest motive has been given a mythological background. Right? We just don't talk about incest, and the sexual relationship, which was considered a taboo by the society, has been shown to be very powerful. That is what myth as a symbol solves the purpose in the play. Okay. Now, in the conclusion, I got this quote by Winter. Winter has written a critical study on O'Neill, and this quote of his very well summarizes whatever I have discussed till now, right? So, in the words of Winter, quote unquote, this use of symbolism has lent a poetic quality to O'Neill's prose. It has universalized his theme and added an emotional quality to his realism. He has been able to remain true to the realism of his characters and at the same time suggest strange warnings, intuitions, fantastic ideas that play on the periphery of consciousness or lie buried in the subconscious, but at times assert themselves with painful vividness, sharpness. So basically, what purpose or what reason O'Neill has used symbolism is basically he has universalized his theme and the extent as well as the scope of his play. That is what purpose has been solved by the use of symbolism in Desire Under the Elms. These are the elms in Oklahoma. You can see how beautiful they look, and how beautiful this trail looks like. So, with this, um, I'm hopeful that I have been able to convey my points to you, and you will be able to dwell on the connections between the importance of various symbols that are used by O'Neill. Thank you so much, and please take care of yourself.